Hey class, this is Professor Ramey here. Nice to finally meet you, finally get this video up. Just a short video going over the syllabus, introducing to the class, and trying to give a couple ideas of advice on how to succeed in this class throughout the semester. Sorry for the delayed start and not having the course material up on Wednesday and Thursday. Those issues are fixed. And if you've already looked at the syllabus and seen the assignments, we didn't really miss much. I have a very delayed kind of schedule, much at your own pace in this class. We'll get to that in a second, and kind of how to go about the class. But right now, if you are able to, I might advise to open up the syllabus that's already posted up on D2L and kind of go along, because real quickly we're just going to go through the individual assignments and the things listed in the syllabus before we get into more detail on other things, right? So basically, yes, this is History 1301, the catalog description. I like to think that you knew what you were signing up for when you signed up for History 1301. But we're going to go basically from the beginning of the historical record to 1877. 1877, it's a weird year to say why we didn't in class in 1877. It actually makes sense. It's the end of this process called Reconstruction, rebuilding the United States after the Civil War. If those words mean nothing to you, that's why you're in history class, and we'll get to that at the very end of the semester, right? The only two things you need to purchase in this class, right? First, you need the textbook. Yeah, I mean, it's an online class. The vast majority of your learning is going to come from the textbook. Now, in my honest opinion, that is not ideal, but that is the nature of online classes, right? That's what we kind of have to do in an online class. A lot of self-learning and learning through a text. I will supplement this with videos and things that throughout the semester, but for the most part, this is going to be your main tool for learning. And this is what all the reading quizzes and everything is going to come from. The textbook for this semester is the Brands, Breen, Williams, and Gross American Stories, A History of the United States, 3rd edition, Volume 1. And all that's really important. You have to get the correct textbook. It needs to be the the 3rd edition, and it needs to be at least the first volume. You can get a combined volume with Volume 1 and Volume 2, particularly if you're planning on taking 1302 the next semester and hoping that they're going to use the same textbook. If you take me for 1302 next semester, I will use this one again, right? So make sure you get the correct textbook. The reason for this is all the reading quizzes and exam questions, etc. A lot of that is going to come straight from that text. If you're having trouble getting that, say from the bookstore, or you don't want to go up to the bookstore, you're out of town or something, you can purchase this online from the publisher. I have the ISBN up there. Just use the best tools. If you're having any problems getting it, please let me know as soon as possible so I can come up to a solution. I picked this textbook for a few reasons, not the least of which is it's the cheapest option at Lone Star. It's not a very expensive textbook. It's kind of older. You can find used copies. You can find new copies. You can find PDF copies from the publisher. There's a lot of ways to go about it. But whichever one you choose, make sure to get that as quickly as possible there. The only other text you are required to have for this class is a monograph. Now, a monograph is just a fancy word for a book about a particular subject. Mono one, a book about one subject. And I'm giving you an option. There are 3 options listed for your monograph. We have Empire of the Summer Moon, Quanah Parker and the Rise and Fall of the Comanches, the most powerful Indian tribe in American history, a hugely long subtitle. We just call it Empire of the Summer Moon. A great book, won the Pulitzer. It's about the Comanche Indians, particularly here in Texas. And if you're interested in Native Americans, if you're interested in the Comanche Indian, you're interested in Texas history, or you're interested in what a lot of people think is a really good book, maybe choose this one, right? We also have Tecumseh and the Quest for Indian Leadership, 2nd edition, right? And you can do the 1st edition. 2nd edition is better because it's more author's notes in there. This is another book about a Native American, different tribe, different aspect, different time period, etc. It's substantially different than Empire of the Summer Moon. Empire of the Summer Moon is a narrative, it's a story. Tecumseh is more of a text. And so if you're interested in just getting a book that's kind of clear cut, boom, and I just want to get through it, this might be the one for you. I think it's the shortest of the three on the list, so if that's a consideration, well, there you go. It might not be the most interesting though. You have 16 or 15 weeks, I guess, now to read the one of these books. So I don't think length should be a huge consideration, but your time might vary. So put that in there. It's a good book. There's nothing wrong with it. It's pretty much the standard edition if you want to know about Tecumseh and you know what was going on in the early 19th century with Native American and United States military policy. All right, and the final one is Blood Meridian or the Evening Redness in the West by Cormac McCarthy. Cormac McCarthy, some of y'all might be familiar with him. If you're not familiar with this book, have you seen the movie No Country for Old Men? Yeah, he wrote that, the screenplay for that, the book that was turned into the movie. And if you saw that movie, you know it's got some brutal violence. Well, that is kind of a hallmark of Cormac McCarthy. He's a brilliant writer, but he doesn't hold back any punches, right? And that's why I put this warning if you're going to choose this one. It is a great book. Absolutely a great book. It is also extraordinarily graphic in both violence and in some cases sexuality. Reader beware if you're going to choose that. If that stuff is going to offend you, is not your cup of tea, you'd rather not read that or have that around, then do not get that book. If that doesn't bother you so much, this might be an option for you. You might actually, if you put the time into it, might actually enjoy it. As I said, McCarthy's a very good writer. I will say one more caveat. The reason you're reading this monograph involves an essay you have to write at the end of the class. No question, by far, this will be the most difficult one to actually write that essay because the book is not as clear cut as the other two. That doesn't mean it's not possible, and that doesn't mean it's not more rewarding because it's probably the quote best of the three as far as just literature. But if you're just looking for an easy, I just want to get the class done, right? And just what do I need to do? This might not be the book for you. But if you're looking for a challenge and you're looking for an interesting story, this one is an option right there. And I'm interested to see what people think about all three of these books. Regardless, you need to get one of them. All of these are easily available online. They might be, I know they had Blood Meridian last semester at the bookstore. They might be available again at the Lone Star bookstore. Look, I'm not going to tell you where to get the books. You can go wherever you want. Financial aid concerns, you might need to go to the bookstore, things like that. Fantastic. The bookstore is fabulous. Lone Star has a very good bookstore, and they're willing to work with you. It's not the cheapest option, though. The cheapest option, all three of these can be got used or in some version from Amazon, from whatever, Barnes & Nobles, on half-price books, whatever your, whatever way you want to go there. Just even though the monograph is not due to the end of the semester, even though the essay you're going to turn in from reading the book is not due until May, my first word of advice for in this video, get it now. Go ahead and purchase it now, right? You know how it is. I mean, or maybe you don't. I mean, maybe this is your first semester in college and you're going to learn really quick. But some of y'all, maybe been in school for a little while or coming back or whatever it might be. You know how it goes at the beginning of the semester. You got all that energy, you got all that excitement. You're all ready to go. You're like, this semester I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna do this shit right now. No messing around now. And that lasts for about 2 or 3 weeks. Leading into February, early March, you're like, oh man, spring break's coming up. Oh, this, and you lose that enthusiasm, you lose that energy as the grind of the semester goes on. Harness that energy while you have it now, right? And go ahead and at least purchase the materials. You might not have to start reading it just yet, but just to have it there, have it by your, your nightstand, right? Or have it in the bathroom, or have it somewhere as a reminder that, hey, I got to read this thing. It's good. The reason why I'll get to in the later, because one of the problems students tend to have in my in the classes is they put off certain assignments, particularly the monograph, and to a point where it becomes too late near the end of the semester. But we'll get to that. Okay. Other than that, I mean, that's all you need. Everything else I will provide for you, right? on D2L. Usually that will come in the form of videos like this one, and we'll have a few more this semester, maybe 5 of them, right, going over certain topics, and might have some alternative reading assignments. Those are usually optional, but they're still there if you want to use the material on that. Okay. Next is about electronic access. Well, you're watching me right now, and then you have electronic access. If you do not have electronic access, why'd you take an online class? So it's on that. That's goes without saying, but I'm required to put that in there. I guess somewhere down the line somebody didn't have access to the internet. They decided to take an online course. ADA statement. Once again, one of the things in an online class that rarely comes up, but it might. Listen, if you have ADA paperwork, or if there's something you need outside the realms of a normal class, that's absolutely, just let me know. Send me the paperwork, and I'll make every accommodation. The thing is, I can't be more accommodating. Usually, I mean, unless there's something weird, in which I'll certainly help with. But I mean, you take this course at your own pace, you know, at the comfort of your own home, and everything's done on that. So, if there's something, you know, unique though, please let me know, and we'll work. I'll go above and beyond on that. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about ADA, it doesn't apply to you, so don't worry about it. All right, Title IX. Another thing that's rarely an issue in an online class, but if it becomes an issue, or it is an issue, we're going to follow the letter of the law, the handbook, etc., on that. It's a very serious thing, and you know, let's hope nothing happens with it. But if something happens, just, you know, once again, we're going to go straight by the book on that. Attendance expectations. There we go. Once again, it's an online class. We don't show up for class. You never have to come on campus. I don't proctor exams at anywhere, anything like that. I don't know. I'm not going to check how many times you log in and when you're on, and have you been on there enough. If you get the work done and the work is good, you're going to get, you know, you're going to get a good grade. If you don't get the work done, the work's not good, you never log in, well, you get an F or whatever, or, you know, what it might be. I certainly don't look at how many times you log in and how long you spent in the course. And the truth is, the way I designed this course, you don't necessarily have to log in every single day, as long as you're good at planning and you know what work needs to be done and when. I mean, you can kind of do this at your leisure. Nonetheless, because I structure the course a certain way where I have long periods of time before due dates, and then a lot of things are due in a short amount of time, it does lead to people, you know, as well, I don't have to worry about my history class because I don't have anything due in there in 3 weeks. And then when that 3 weeks is coming near an end, you're like, oh shit, I got all these reading quizzes, I got an exam, I got et cetera, et cetera. So it might behoove you to pop in quite occasionally, write something on the discussion board, et cetera, right? Show active participation. So not only is it in the class and I see it, but also it's being front and center that, you know, that this class is still going on. All right. Student learning outcomes and course program outcomes. I mean, that's just what we're going to cover and what we're going to do in this class. And we will do all those things in the program outcomes, and that will cover all those things in the student learning outcomes. Okay, the plagiarism and cheating one, I do have to take a little time on this and go through it, regrettably, because I don't know why it's such an issue, but it is becoming such a big issue these days, especially in online classes. Cheating, I mean, how do you cheat in an online class? I guess if you have a friend in the class, y'all could be doing it together, but I mean, I'll never know that. And I don't really care about that so much. I mean, the word college goes to the word colleague, right? And working together is, I don't see anything wrong with that. However, the issue that does come up every semester, and this is so regrettable, but it's so true. Every semester is plagiarism, right? If you don't know what plagiarism is, it's taking somebody else's work and using it as your own, right? Without giving proper credit, etc. I'm going to have a much longer talk about this when we get to the research paper in that video. But bottom line for all you need to know today is do not do it. Don't plagiarize. just do your own work and get what you get, right? It is so easy, obviously, just to go, and try to find something on essays.com or, to BS your sources, something like that. It is, look, it's simple, it's easy, especially when you don't have somebody looking over your shoulder. The problem is you're going to get caught. And the problem with getting caught is you fail the class. It's not worth it, right? It's not worth it. Instead of plagiarizing, it's better not to turn the assignment in. The structure of this class is well enough where even if you somehow don't turn an assignment in or just completely mess up an assignment, there's still room for you to pass the class. If you plagiarize, you're not going to pass. It's a straight F, right, on that. I'm just mentioning it now just to know I'm serious about it. It's one that, I'm really easygoing, you'll see, about certain things. I'm really willing to work with you. It's just, that's one thing I just cannot tolerate in the class, right? If you're caught plagiarizing, it's an automatic F in the course, no matter what your grade is. Okay, so, basically don't do it in there. Okay, scholastic dishonesty, grading structure, all that stuff should be familiar. If it's not, well, there's the breakdown, the grading right there. I'm really lenient when it comes to, like, if you make an 89 in the class, and it's like, come on, it's 1 point, to keep you, I'm pretty lenient about that. But nonetheless, I have a cutoff somewhere, and usually it's at the 9 below. So in other words, 100 to an 89 will usually be an A, and an 89 to a 79 will usually be a B. But I have to have a cutoff somewhere. So if you have like an 88, can it be an A? Well, most likely no, unless I'm in a really good mood that day. We'll see. And then down below that is probably what you really want to know, right? Well, okay, how do we do the grades? We have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total grades in this class. I guess 8 if we count the 2 exams on that. Everything except for the discussion score is worth 200 points, right? We have 10 reading quizzes worth 20 points each for a total of 200 points. We have an argumentative essay that's worth 200 points. We have 2 exams worth 200 points each for a total of 400. We have the monograph analysis, which is due on the last day of class, 200 points. And then this research project, actually the assignment that's going to be due first in this class, worth 200 points. And then we have the discussion score, which is worth 100. I'm going to go through each of these very briefly because I'll have a larger video associated with all these as they come up. But just so you have some basis, let's go through them all real quick. But that's 1,300 total points in this class, and the easy way to find out your grade is you take basically the total, the points you have in the class, your points, and just divide it by 1,300, the max possible points, and that'll give you your percentage. That'll give you your grade in the class. Now, it's going to happen somewhere around April. You're going to look at your grade, you're going to look at your final average in the grade book, and you'll be, well, why do I made an A on everything. Why do I have a 60 average in this class? Well, it's because you haven't gotten all your points yet. The percentile you'll see on your final average throughout the semester doesn't take, if you haven't turned an assignment in because it hasn't been due yet, you don't have those points, so your percentage is going to be lower. If you want to know where you currently stand in the class without turning in all the assignments, just take the total possible points you could have made to that point in time and divide it by the points you have. If that sounds like a lot of math in the morning, well, just roll with the punches and just do good work, and your grade's going to be fine at the end, right? Just come April, if you're looking and you're freaking out because you have a 60 percentile, well, remember, you haven't taken the final exam. You might not have turned in your argumentative essay, you haven't turned in your monograph analysis. The discussion score hasn't been finalized. Yeah, you're doing pretty well if you have a 60 percentile at that point, right? So just keep track of the points and see what you're doing on each assignment. You have a pretty good estimation where your grade is. Okay. Reading quizzes. The most numerous thing you're going to do in this class, we will have 10 reading quizzes, and they're very simple. I assign chapters, either 1 or 2 chapters from the textbook. You read those chapters, and then you take the quiz on D2L. The questions from those quizzes come straight from what was presented in the textbook. You only have 1 attempt to do these, but there's no time limit. You can have the book open when you do them, right? And, you submit it, and you get that. All the questions are worth 1 point apiece, so there's 20 questions on each quiz worth 1 point apiece. I keep the quizzes open, even if you can't go back and retake them. I keep them open. That has to do with exams. We'll see why in a second. These are really easy. This is a good way to keep your grade up. You really should be striving to be making between an 18 and 20 on all these reading quizzes. You know, I don't try to make the questions tricky or anything like that. I just try to make sure you have an understanding of the reading, and it should come pretty much straight from the language of the textbook. The first 5 of these reading quizzes are posted. They are due March 4th, I believe. That's right. All 5 of the first half of this class is due at the same time on March 4th. Right? Which means here we are, was it the 20th of January? You have all the way till March to finish these. You have over a month and a half really. Might I suggest you not wait till March 4th? Go through them incrementally, you know, maybe get the first reading quiz, out of the way this week, and then the second one the next week, and just keep on going like that. Because if you wait until the weekend of the March 4th, you're going to have a lot of work, and you're going to be rushing through it. And you actually do need to read the textbook, even if you can, kind of skim through for the reading quizzes, which you might do. When it comes time for the exam, you actually need to know that material in the textbook that's outside just the questions I asked on the quiz. So if you keep up with it, it's going to be a very simple assignment, and it's going to be really high percentage at your final grade right there. The second round of quizzes 6 through 10, will be posted, or they're posted right now, but you just can't see them. They'll become available after the first exam, because that starts the second half of the class, and they'll be due like a week before the final. So somewhere, like May 6th or 7th or something like that. And it'll be the same exact structure. Okay. The next thing, even though probably shouldn't be the next thing I talk about because it's not due till April, is the next thing in the syllabus we'll talk about now. In April, you will have an argumentative essay due. I'll have a longer video about this, but basically all this is I'm going to present some questions to you, right? About, well, the subject matter is going to be about westward expansion, manifest destiny, Americans moving west, and the cultures and the peoples they ran into, and the conflicts that arose from that. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions that do not have a correct answer. The answer is based off your opinion. You're going to make an argument about these issues based off your perspective, your opinion, and the facts you have learned in the class. And the sources, by and large, that you are going to use to make this opinion, to make this argument, right, are primary sources, pictures, documents, right, real writings and real paintings and real cartoons and things like that from that time period. And that's going to be the basis of this essay. I have a much longer explanation, but that's kind of the core of the argumentative essay. That will be due in April. Don't worry about it right now. Just know that that's coming up, right? And I will have it open actually on D2L, probably starting 2 weeks from now. So if you want to take a look at it, you don't need to start it by any means, but if you want to take a look at it and get the gist of the assignment, that'll be available to you. Okay, next, 2 exams in this class worth 200 points each, right? This equates to the midterm and the final in the grade book. It's a little confusing because really the midterm covers the first half of the class. The final covers the second half. In other words, it's not comprehensive. We break the class into 2 different sections, right? And the midterm covers the first one and the exam. Now the exams have 2 parts. The first part is 40 multiple choice questions. And you're like, oh shit, 40 multiple choice. Well, here's the thing about those multiple choice questions. Every single one of them you'll have seen before. These come straight from the reading quizzes. This is why I leave the quizzes open up to the point of the exam, is so you can go back and you can review and you can take a look at these questions to prepare. If you missed a question on a reading quiz, okay, well you can go back and you can see why you missed it, make sure you get the correct answer, etc., etc. It might seem a silly system. Why ask the same question twice? It's just part of the learning process, right? I mean, what's the only way we learn anything is by doing it a couple times, right? Or doing it a few times. And it's not ideal in an online classroom, it's hard to reinforce things, right? And this is an attempt to at least try to reinforce the material. Multiple choice, is easy. That's worth 80 of the total of 200 points on each exam. It's the second part on these exams where you really make or break a grade. And these are the free response areas, basically miniature essays. You'll have to answer 3 essays on these exams. I give you the questions ahead of time. There's no surprises. And I usually give you options between 4 or 5 choices, and you're going to choose 3 of them. And you're going to basically write a detailed response answering that question. The only, what tends to happen, especially in the midterm, and then it's corrected on the final, is students take these a little too lightly. They think, oh, it's just a quick response, a few sentences will do. No, these are little miniature essays. You really want to be a detailed, informative response on these. But here's the deal. I give you the questions ahead of time. You can write out your answer ahead of time before you even start the exam. When you get to the exam, you just cut and paste the answer right into the answer sheet or copy it down, whatever you want to do right there. So there's no surprises on that. It's a very simple format. I'll have a video on the midterm kind of going more into detail on what to do about that. And you're free to discuss the free response questions once they're posted on the discussion board. You and your fellow students, you can talk about it. It's like, hey, what are you thinking about this for this question, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Oh, what happened to my numbering here? Oh my goodness. I went 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Sorry about that. 4. Monograph analysis. Yes, by the end of the class, you will have read one of those 3 books, and you're going to write an essay covering that book. Is worth 200 points, like everything. Once again, more information as we get closer to when it's done. And just one thing I want to warn you about, this is not a book report. This is not a summary, right? It's an analysis. And this is why you're thinking, well, I can just get, just read an online summary or review of the book and I'll be just fine writing this monograph analysis. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Or fortunately, actually, I think you should read the book. This is an analysis breaking down the argument of the book, its merits, its faults, etc., etc. And I give you the questions I need you to answer. So yes, you actually need to buy the book. I'll go ahead and mention this now. I was going to mention this at the end about how to succeed in this class. I'll mention this now. This is the one assignment students do the most poorly on. The reason is very simple. It's because it's a long semester. If something is not due to the end of the semester, you wait and wait and wait on it. And when you get near the end of the semester, it's been out of sight and out of mind. You wake up and you're like, oh shit, I have to read a book in this class. And you have a week to go in the class, you've run out of time, you can't get it done. And so you kind of you either go online to reviews, you don't actually read the book, you skim it, and the monograph itself, your essay really suffers on that. I'll be constantly trying to remind you through the discussion board and and news items and things like that to keep after it and get the book and start reading it. But it's largely on you to get it done. I'm just asking you, don't let that happen. If you know you're a procrastinator, that's okay. I was a procrastinator in college. I still am, actually. But if you know you're one, you got to realize your flaw there, and you got to combat it. At least get it now. At least start looking through it. Read some reviews ahead of time to see which one you think is going to be most interesting to you, right? But at least start that. Okay, and there'll be more to talk about that later. And last, and strangely enough, first, because it's the first major assignment we have due in this class, is our research project. Now, probably later on this evening, I'm going to have the video discussing how to do this research project up. It's due in February, late February, but nonetheless, it is, that's the one that's around the corner. The research project is a very simple assignment if you follow my instructions. It's a very difficult assignment if you do not. It's all you're doing is researching a topic. That's it, right? Researching a topic in American history or world history. I don't even have the U.S. Umbrella under it. And usually you're going to write a paper, a 5+ page paper, with well documented, with showing your sources, etc., cited, and all that. If you don't want to do that, you can do a presentation. We'll talk more about that in the research paper video, right? It is the genre, the theme of the of this semester is conspiracy theories. Yes, you're going to go research, pick your favorite conspiracy theory, and now you go academically research the events or the things surrounding that conspiracy, right? If you think the JFK assassination, you think that was a conspiracy, well, go research it, right? And I think it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of things involved in that. You have plenty of things to choose from there. The only criteria is all your sources have to be academic, right? And that's usually the pitfall for many students is that. And that's when, before you start the assignment, make sure you watch my research paper video on that, because I'm going to show you where to go. And basically the bottom line is go to the Lone Star academic databases to get your sources. So that's that. If you follow that, you're going to be just okay. All right, and last, in many ways least actually, because it's the least points and it's something I'm not the most critical about, but it is points to your grade, is the discussion score. Look, I never like class structure that forced discussion, where it's like, okay, you must every week make a pertinent post and it must be thoughtful, and I'm going to score you on that. I don't like that. I mean, who likes to be forced to write something that you really don't have any interest in on that? So I don't do that in the class. I don't have mandatory you have to discuss and all that. But part of a class structure is the community, right? Is students and the professor coming together, discussing ideas, talking about things, right? And that's what's actually sorely missing at online classes. Online classes are great. They work with your schedule. They're flexible, right? And you can get a good education through online classes. But where it really suffers is the interaction, the one-on-one, right? The deeper discussion of details, right? Besides just the textbook. And that's why we have a discussion board, right? If you want to get that 100 points, right? I'm pretty lenient about this, but pop in. The first thing you need to do, actually, introduce yourself. I put a little introduction thing on the discussion board. Introduce yourself. Say who you are. Get a little background about you, right? And then for each of the, for every assignment, maybe make a post. Maybe talk about what your research topic is and where you're finding your sources, right? When we get to the argument of essay, mention some of the primary sources you saw and what you think about them. Just pop in every now. Show that you're in the class and that you're involved, and you're going to be just fine on that, right? And you get basically a free 100 points at the end of the semester. Okay. I'll be reminding, and I'll make some posts on the discussion board to kind of follow along and get that dialogue going. Course materials and success, and the last part of that, in many ways, is the most important, right, on this. But here's the deal. This video is already a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. I'm going to be long-winded, as you'll see in my other videos. But, guys, this is a 16-week class. In some ways, in online classes, that's the worst thing. Sometimes the smaller, shorter online classes are better because they're more focused. You're like, okay, I got to do something every day. As you'll see in this class, you have long breaks before something is due. And that's fine. I'm not going to harp on you. You do this class however you want to do. You do you, baby, right? But if you break it down into smaller chunks, you might find your success is better. You're not going to be so stressed out. You're not going to lose your hair like me, right? For being, wait until the last minute on these things. You have all the time. Basically, you have until the due date, right? I'm not going to email you 2 weeks before the reading quizzes are due to say, hey, are you going to get on this? Or are you going to do this? Now, it's up to you. You want to wait till the last minute, that's fine. And many students can do that and they succeed. I would just suggest try not to do that, right? Try to get it done on that. Take the class seriously. Do good work. Don't get rushed on it, right? And you're going to be just fine. Read all the course materials. Participate in the discussion board, right? And I think you'll do excellent. I think it's a pretty simple class to succeed in. The only time students don't do well in the class is when they basically don't get the work done or they half-ass the work. That's fair enough, right, on that. But you don't have to take History 1301 again, right? Might as well just get the work done and get it done well and get a good grade, right? And move on to History 1302 unless you've already taken it, and move on in your degree. Anyways, sorry for the length of this video, but I thought it serves as a good introduction. We'll have a few more this semester. It's one of the things that, I asked for feedback at the end of the class A lot of students said we want more videos talking about things. I'm going to try to do that this semester. If you have any problems, going all the way back to the first, actually, is probably the first thing I should have talked about. The contact. Yeah, look. Obviously, the first way to contact me is through D2L or through that the Lone Star, michael.a.ramey@lonestar.edu. You can try I teach also at Houston Community College, and you can try to contact me through that one if something goes wrong. The phone number there, that is my cell phone number. Use it sparingly if you can. I mean, if it's something you can email me about, email me about. But if it is an emergency, right? I don't mind if you call that or text that. I really don't mind one bit, right? And if it's something you really need you to discuss with me. That's why I posted on the syllabus. It's a tool to be used. Just, be reasonable about it. Don't text me at 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that, right? But there's something you really need to discuss that you don't want to talk about on email. I don't bite on the phone, right? In fact, I honestly prefer phone calls to emails because it's easier to get my point across and it's easier for the students to get their point across, right? On that. So don't hesitate if you have an issue there, right? That's what it's for. Guys, I hope it's a great semester. There's more videos to come explaining each of the individual assignments and whatnot, right? In the meantime, what you need to do, get the books, get your textbook, pick your monograph, go and order that, maybe start on the reading quizzes, and, first thing that doesn't cost anything or do anything, go and introduce yourself on the discussion board if you haven't already. All right, guys, here's to a great semester, and I'll see y'all soon.